We need all eyes on what is happening in Texas right now with Representative Nicole Collier. She's basically being held against her will inside the Texas State House. Now, I always am somebody who doesn't want to sound unnecessarily alarmist, but this is extremely concerning. Now, we know that Texas is the center of the gerrymandering scandal where Republicans are attempting to cheat in the 2026 midterms. Redistricting was just done a couple of years ago. Texas's congressional map is already horribly gerrymandered, and yet Donald Trump was like, hey, Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas Republicans, find me 5 more seats, do a special session, and just cheat, just disenfranchise millions of Black and brown Texas voters, because otherwise the Republicans are about to get destroyed in the midterms. The only way the Republicans can hold on to power, as they are now a fully consolidated fascist party, is through cheating. For the first special session, we saw Texas House Democrats abscond to Illinois and New York in order to deprive the Republican majority of a quorum so that they could not push through the gerrymandering maps, at least in the Texas House. Unfortunately, 2 Texas Democratic senators did show up and create a quorum in the Texas Senate, and they have already voted to approve that gerrymandering map. So now it goes back to the House. So now, unfortunately, Texas House Democrats have come back. That's going to create a quorum again. They said that they did their job of raising awareness of what was happening in Texas, and now it appears like this gerrymandering map might get pushed through. I don't know what the strategy is here. Raising awareness is not going to stop fascism. I hope that everybody is not pinning all of their hopes on Gavin Newsom redistricting in California. After being gone for 2 weeks to deprive the Texas Republicans of a quorum, Texas Democrats did return yesterday to find that the Republican leadership had assigned state law enforcement officers to monitor each of them in order to prevent any further delays to redistrict, gerrymander the congressional map for Texas. Yeah, you heard that right. They put an armed law enforcement officer on every single Democrat and said, you can't leave the Texas State House unless you agree to be supervised. Apparently, all of the Texas Democrats were like, okay, we're going along with this, except for Representative Nicole Collier, who represents part of Fort Worth. She refused to agree to have a police monitor and instead remained inside the Capitol building. She spent the night there in a chair in protest. Now, CNN did report that 2 other Texas Democrats, Jean Wu and Vince Perez, showed up to support her and spent the night there as well. Now, Collier, who's a Black woman, and it's important to understand, she is Black, she is a woman, because more often than not, that's who we see being willing to take a stand. It's also who, we expect to play savior for us. Why is it that the burden is always put on Black women over and over and over? I'm so appreciative that there are so many Black women who are willing to stand on the right side of history, that understand what is required of all of us right now. But where the fuck is everybody else? Why is the expectation always that Black women will sacrifice, that Black women will stick their necks out, that Black women will take the risk? Anyway, we could talk about that more, but Representative Collier said, what matters to me is making sure that I resist and fight back against and push back against what the Republicans are doing. So basically, the Republican Speaker of the House, Dustin Burrows, who he's a piece of work, y'all. He said that every Democrat had to sign a permission slip that would agree to have a Texas Department of Public Safety officer basically follow them around and make sure that they showed up. This is all of the Republicans' plan to push through this gerrymandering map. It's all about force, coercion, control. It's all about disenfranchising millions of Texas voters. You can see how unbelievably desperate Texas Republicans are, that they are resorting to this blatant, in-your-face cheating. Brazen does not even begin to encompass the level of desperation and audacity that we are seeing from Texas Republicans. So unfortunately, a lot of Texas House Democrats said, we don't like this, but we're going to go along with it. Collier said that what she's doing is standing up for her constituents. She is being their representative. She said, my community is a majority minority and they expect me to stand up for their representation. So she said, I'm not going to bend the knee to this. I'm not going to allow this to go through. And she said, I will make a stand. I will spend the night. I refuse to leave the Texas Capitol. Now, today there's been more development. But Collier said, I have a right to resist, I have a right to oppose, just like my voters do. Just like Texans have a right to challenge government, that's what I'm doing. Today, she filed for a writ of habeas corpus. I refuse to comply with this unreasonable, un-American, and unnecessary request, Collier said. Now, earlier today, her lawyers in a state court in Austin filed a habeas corpus application saying that what Republicans were doing was illegal confinement. Now, in response, State Representative Charlie Guerin, who is a Republican, said if you leave the Capitol, you are subject to arrest. But Collier and her lawyers are claiming that the two conditions under which she could be arrested have not been met. Her lawyers acknowledged that Texas law allows lawmakers who are absent from the Capitol to face civil arrest, but they say that state officials have no legal right to detain legislators. They're saying they won't let her leave unless she signs a permission slip that says that a law enforcement officer can follow her around. Right? My understanding from what her attorneys have said is that the law in Texas says that if the session is ongoing and you are absent and you're a legislator, you could face civil arrest. But that doesn't mean that when a session is not ongoing, they can detain you while you're already at the Capitol. Her attorneys said, the plain language is clear. A member may be compelled by the sergeant at arms to attend a legislative session if he or she is physically absent, but no such power is conferred on the legislature to arrest or otherwise compel a member who is currently present and not absent to stay. So her petition is asking the judge to order that the House Sergeant at Arms immediately release her and to bar that Sergeant at Arms from restraining her in any respect. Now, we'll see what happens next. The Texas legislature is set to reconvene tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. They're likely going to push through this horrible gerrymandering map. If you are a Texan, now is the time to be speaking up vigorously. Now is the time as well to be thinking about your plan for the midterms. I guess for me, I'm really frustrated that only Representative Collier took this stand, that she is the one who is having to stick her neck out, that she's the one who's having to go through this. Right, we know what kind of hate she's getting. We know what kind of threats she's surely getting from Republicans. Where is everybody else? Where are all of the other Democrats? Why have they agreed to go along with what the Texas Republicans want? Now, there's a rumor swirling that all of the Texas Democrats are going to show up and spend the night with her in solidarity. Again, like raising awareness, making these demonstrations that don't actually stop the fascists. I don't understand why it is that Democrats time and time again fail the very simple assignment. The way that you stop the fascists is you create a unified front. You all stand up together, you have each other's backs, you link arms, and you hold the line. So many times what we see is one or two or a few folks who have courage, or you see everybody do like a walkout or some kind of public display or raise awareness. But in the end, the Republicans get to push through the thing that they want to do because the resistance effort is insufficient. Or like any attempt to push back, worthwhile. It's really important. It was absolutely the right move for the Texas Democrats to leave the state. Absolutely was the right move for them to put a spotlight on what the Republicans are doing. Absolutely. In no way am I disagreeing with that action. But more often than not, like Cory Booker on the floor, Hakeem Jeffries speaking on the floor, Democrats walking out of subcommittee meetings. Like at the end of the day, it's not enough. They're not doing the right things, and there are too many of them splintering off and voting for Republican bills or showing up to create a quorum so Republicans can push through their fascist agenda. Or on a national level, like voting for the SAVE Act, voting for Trump's nominees, supporting legislation that Trump wants. I know the Democrats are not going to save us. I know that the Democrats we expect to turn into saviors, to be the sacrificial lambs, are more often than not Black women. People tried to make Kamala Harris into that. Folks definitely do it to Jasmine Crockett. And I absolutely applaud Representative Collier's stand that she's taking. It's important at this moment in time. I'm just frustrated that she's having to do it alone. I'm frustrated that there aren't more folks who are standing. I'm frustrated that every Democrat is not standing with her. So we'll see if her habeas corpus petition is approved, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens next.